with the live video thing. I don't think anyone's even watching right now because it's yeah, the Wi-Fi is a little tricky, and trying to get this thing to work is yeah, there's some people, and this is sort of meant as sort of a review of how or sort of the entire audience gets to choose what it is that they want to talk about. And if you suggest it, you sort of have to own it, show up to the room, and more or less lead the discussion. So I did that for 3 different ones, and there was even 2 other sessions where some of the core devs were development and how businesses can support that, how we can bring more developers into the industry, stuff like that. Stuff that I think is very important, and surprisingly, a lot of people showed up, and I've been even further surprised by the amount of investors that are just sort of like, hey, we would love to support this ecosystem, and we want healthy. We just don't know what to do, right? Like, how do we contribute? What do we do? So, which is great. I'm glad to see a lot of people that are sort of thinking that way, and that's part of my role at Blockchain Capital is figuring out how to make the ecosystem good and healthy from a development perspective. And one of the things that came out of it was there's a lot of sort of like ancillary libraries around Bitcoin, not just like Bitcoin Core. There and a bunch of other libraries that sort of exist around Bitcoin, many of which have sort of fallen into disrepair. And it turns out that a lot of the open source projects that continue or are maintained tend to be the ones that are sort of maintained by companies. So for example, Bcoin, that's an initiative by Purse.io. That one has a lot of developers. There's something called Bitcore, which is like a block explorer sort of on top of Bitcoin Core, that you can run, and that one is sort of maintained by BitPay, but that's also open source, right? So there's this pattern of a lot of software that's open source. The ones that tend to be maintained tend to have sort of like a backer behind it, and that tends to sort of like push it in a certain direction and things. And not that that's bad, but I would like to personally see more sort of things that everyone can use and isn't sort of catering to the needs of a particular company. Though that's a perfectly good use case. I'm totally fine with that. I just like to see sort of more involvement. And part of what we talked about yesterday was making that possible and helping the ecosystem grow, right? As far as the actual conference, it's been good. One of I think it was like with spouses and kids and some stuff like that, it ends up being like 275 people or something like that. And if you exclude the people that weren't here in particular for Bitcoin, it's like 175 people or so. So, you know, very good turnout. I think it was, I heard last year was around 75 people. So certainly a much bigger turnout this year. And it's reflective of how much Bitcoin's grown since then. Yeah, I enjoyed it. One of the things that happens when you have sort of a large group of people is that people sort of self-segregate, right? Like you're not going to go to a talk that you don't really care about. So, you know, there were like ICO regulation talks and stuff like that, and I could have gone to those, or they weren't talks per se; they were more like discussions. I didn't really go to those because I wasn't very interested, right? There was a talk on Tether, you know, and you know, there are several people from that here. So I didn't get to make that one because I was reading another panel on Bitcoin maximalism. So that was pretty fun, actually. Like, you know, we were talking about what that means and how concerned are we about other coins and things like that. So really good discussions. I enjoyed a lot of the people here. I can't say that I interacted with that many people. 175 people are a lot of people to meet. But I certainly interacted with a lot of the people that I respect and wanted to hang out with and you know, just talk to for a while. I will say that the entertainment was a little bit weird for my taste. Yeah, but you know, it wasn't like you know, the Miami conference or anything like that. It was just kind of a, you know, I don't know. Yeah, last night we went out to dinner. I was with Max Kaiser, Stacy Herbert, Jameson Lopp, I think Daniel Quaywis, Paul Stork, several other people were there. Oh, and Amory Sachet. And you know, it was just sort of it started out with like me, Jameson, and Stacy and Max, and then we just sort of slowly got joined by more people. And of course, you know, there was alcohol involved and stuff, so that was quite interesting. I think there's a Periscope on Max's Twitter of me debating Amory, and he made it clear that there was tequila involved. So you know, when in Mexico. Anyway, you know, that debate wasn't necessarily meant to be that serious. It was just sort of, let's see what happens. Right? That's the sort of thing that sounds like a good idea when you're drinking, not necessarily afterwards. So anyway, yeah, it's been an interesting few days. I'm headed back to Austin. You know, I have to get cranking on this book. There's just so much of this book that I need to write. I have like pages and pages of notes from my editor that I need to go over and make sure I address. You know, I also have to continue, you know, doing a lot of my other businesses, which I've been on hold while I've been here. I have to say though, this place is amazing. Lots of really good food and things like that. Obviously, the people are, you know, I don't know. There's something about meeting people in person that that's more satisfying than, say, you know, replying to somebody on Twitter. And you know, not to say that Twitter's bad. You know, there's a lot of connecting that you can do there too. But certainly, just you know, hanging out and, you know, talking about life or philosophy or abstract art or whatever, you get into like some weird conversations sometimes when you're in person that maybe you don't get into, you know, when you're, you know, doing a lot of email or something like that. By the way, I do want to give a shout out to Jack Dorsey. Stacy Herbert showed me how to like actually buy Bitcoin on the Bitcoin Cash app. No, it's not the Bitcoin Cash app. I'm sorry, that's totally wrong. It's the Cash app on Android, and it's by Square, I think. Anyway, you could buy Bitcoin. It's really easy user interface, and you can just, you know, as long as you have a debit card, it's like an instant purchase and stuff. I was joking with her as the price went up and down. Hey, you owe me money, or she's like, no, now you owe me a commission. And you know, it was it's pretty cool. Jameson Lopp also used it, and you know, bought some, you know, Bitcoin, stuff like that. It's just a really nice interface, and you know, Coinbase is probably takes a lot more time to set up and stuff. I'm going to start recommending the Cash App, although I'm still waiting for the ability to actually withdraw Bitcoin. So I guess until then, I'm not going to formally recommend it. But yeah, it's a great app, very easy to use, great UX, and you can sort of buy instantly at the price that it is now. So you guys should definitely check it out if you're looking to buy Bitcoin or to recommend it to people to go buy something. And that's that. Yeah, I guess that's sort of a short review of the Cash App to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't want to talk about Bitcoin Cash. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's sort of my mini review there. And this song is done.